The avalanche came like a beast. Elira barely had time to scream before the mountain roared and swallowed her whole. Snow, ice, and rock thundered down in a deafening blur, tossing her from the trail and burying her in a glacial tomb of white. Everything went dark. The last thing she remembered was a piercing scream of her horse and the sudden, gut-clenching awareness of the child in her womb. 7 months along, kicking in fear inside her. Then silence. Elira didn't know how long she had been unconscious. The cold stung her cheeks like needles as she stirred. Her legs were pinned. Her back ached. A sharp sting in her ribs told her something was bruised or broken. But she was alive. Gasping, she tried to shift. Ice crunched above and beside her. A narrow pocket of air surrounded her, just enough for her to breathe. But the cave was unstable, jagged shards of blue and white pressing in from all sides. She was entombed, half frozen, utterly alone. Elira tried to stay calm. For her baby. She placed a trembling hand on her belly and murmured softly, "It's okay, little one. Mama's here. We'll be okay. We have to be." But the cold stole strength faster than any wound. Her fur-lined cloak was torn. Her gloves were gone. Even her breath felt like ice inside her chest. Minutes passed, or hours. Time melted in that frozen tomb. Just when Elira thought she might drift into the kind of sleep that never ends, the cave trembled. Not like before. This was deeper, rhythmic, heavy, like something massive was approaching. Boom, boom, boom. The air thickened. Snow and frost shook loose from above. A low, thunderous sound rumbled through the glacier. Not rock, not avalanche. A growl. Elira's pulse surged. Something outside, something enormous was digging. She barely had the strength to lift her head, but a streak of molten light seared across her vision as if the ice wall ahead had just been struck by fire. She gasped as part of it melted away in a single, searing flash. And then an eye, not human, slitted golden, vast. The wall of her frozen tomb exploded outward in a burst of steam and shattered crystal. Elira blinked against the brightness and squinted up. There, crouched over the ruined mouth of the ice cave, was a dragon, not a beast of legend, not some winged monster from bedtime tales. A real one, vast and coiled in shimmering red and gold. Its scales glowed with a heat that radiated through the air like a hot fire after a blizzard. Steam hissed from its nostrils, and each breath rumbled like distant thunder. She couldn't even scream. She could only stare. The dragon's eyes locked on hers. She expected death, fire, teeth, the end. Instead, the dragon lowered its massive head, and for a moment, impossibly, she saw a gentleness in its gaze. Something ancient, something knowing. The creature sniffed the air, its breath melting more of the ice around her, freeing her legs. Then it did the unthinkable. It spoke, not aloud, but inside her mind. "You carry life. I will not let you die." Elira choked back a sob. Why would you help me?" The dragon blinked slowly. More steam curled from its jaws. "Because once, long ago, a woman like you saved me from the blade. Now I return the debt." Before she could speak again, the dragon reached in with shocking delicacy. A single claw, hot enough to melt the surrounding snow into mist, scraped gently along the wall of ice pinning her. It was careful, impossibly so for something so massive. The wall cracked. She was freed. The dragon lowered its wing like a ramp and nudged her gently with the side of its snout. "Climb." She hesitated only a moment. Her legs screamed. Her ribs burned. But she pulled herself on the leathery wing, using ridges and the warm scales like handholds. Once she was settled, the dragon drew her close to its chest. The warmth soaked into her bones, made her cry with relief. And then it took to the sky. They soared above the frozen peaks, through clouds still heavy with snow. Wind howled, but the dragon's heat wrapped around her like a blanket. Nestled against its chest, Alira could feel its heart beating. Massive, steady, calming. The flight was short. The dragon dove into a hidden valley tucked between cliffs, a place untouched by the storm. Steam rose from a cluster of hot springs, and moss grew thick around the water's edge. He landed with a grace that belied his size and lowered her gently to the soft, warm earth. Alira collapsed, gasping, shaking. Her baby kicked again, stronger now. The dragon curled around her, forming a half-circle of warmth and protection. He stared at her in silence, and she stared back. "Thank you," she whispered. The dragon exhaled. "Your child will be strong." I felt it. Alira looked down at her belly. "Do you have a name?" "Once I was called Varant." His tail twitched slightly, stirring the grass. "But I have not spoken with humans in a very long time." "You saved me," she said again, almost in disbelief. "Why?" The dragon closed his eyes for a moment. "Because I remember kindness. When I was young and hunted, a woman like you found me bleeding in the snow. She gave me fire berries and shielded me from arrows. Her child cried when I flew away." A pause. "You smell like her bloodline." Alira's breath caught. Her grandmother had told stories, wild ones, about a wounded dragon cub she once tended in the highlands as a girl. No one had believed her, but Alira had always listened. The days that followed were strange but healing. Varant watched over her like a silent guardian. He brought her fruits warmed by geothermal heat, kept her safe from predators that prowled the mountain shadows, and wrapped his wings around her during freezing nights. In turn, Alira told him stories of towns, of music, of the child growing in her belly. One night, as she lay resting against his massive forearm, she asked softly, "Will I ever see you again after I leave?" Varant didn't answer for a long time. Then, "Your child will call one day, and I will come." When rescue parties finally arrived weeks later, Alira was found alive and healthy in a hidden valley once thought unreachable. She told them the truth. None believed her, but she didn't mind. She had her child, a daughter born strong, with fire in her heart and strange dreams of flying through clouds and talking to stars. And in those dreams, a red dragon watched over her, whispering her name.